Hi, this is Trena with John's Furniture Repair, and this might be the dirtiest table I've ever had in the shop. And it's here for a refinish. Let me show you some details. Okay, so we've got a solid oak table in for a refinish, and it kind of stunk up the shop when it got here. It's very sticky. The finish is degraded, but also it's very dirty. You can see in the tracks here a lot of grime. Not only that, the finish has completely disintegrated here, and I'm a little worried about contamination in the wood. We're gonna have to do a lot of sanding on this piece. And then on top of that, we've got cigarette burns, numerous cigarette burns here and on the leaves. So, I don't usually clean furniture before I strip it, but I'm not sure if my stripper is gonna penetrate all this grease. Anyways, let's get to work. Before we get into that dirty table, I just wanted to stop and thank our sponsor of this video today, the Woodworkers Guild of America. The Woodworkers Guild of America is your online resource for woodworking. They are always creating new content and uploading beautiful projects to inspire you. You can learn through instructional videos taught by a great group of experts in woodworking. They're ready to take you step by step through woodworking processes and share their tips and tricks along the way. It is so satisfying to create or restore something with your own two hands. The Woodworkers Guild of America has a wonderful community that you can connect with, stay up to date on their projects, share your tips, ask your questions. With access to live streaming, live Q&As, and the whole community, you are completely supported on this platform. So why not give it a whirl, see where it gets you? Maybe you can make something that you're really proud of as well. And the first 1,000 of you to click the link in the description below will get 1 year free of the premium membership to the Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49, so come check it out. Okay, so I've got a big pail of water here, and I think that's what this was made for, crud cutter. I think it's excited to do this job. I'm just gonna soak this down. It's pretty bad. And in between the two halves of the table always gets food smushed. So I'm just gonna take my scrubby brush and start washing. So I'll do that to the other side and then blow it out as well. Get this edge cleaned out. We've got a broken pin we need to replace. But once that's a little cleaner, it'll probably operate a little better. Then we'll put our Slip It compound in here and hopefully get that table moving nicely again. Okay, so I did a pretty heavy grind with the Rotex with 100 grit, and honestly, sanding it down to the level where getting the grit out of the grain, I couldn't get all of it. There's still some dirt and grime. Oak is pretty open grains, so it's really hard to get that all out. And that can cause some issues with finishing, so we'll be keeping our eye out on that. Now, this really deep burn, we were not able to get out a couple of these. I don't know why people leave cigarettes on their table, but anyways. So this, you can't really paint these out. Paint over this, it just looks gray. So what we're gonna end up doing is cutting this out and doing a fill just to get that color up. Somebody's knocking at the door here. Come on in. Shop dog's reporting to work. Yes, we have to work on that table today. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a utility knife and I'm gonna cut all of that discolored burnt wood right out. You can see just how deep that burn actually goes. This whole piece is discolored. So you want to make sure to get all that discolored wood out. And I know this looks pretty severe, but so is leaving a cigarette on your table, so. All right, so I'm just gonna make sure those loose fibers are all out of there, and I'm gonna take a water-based putty that is it hardens quite a bit. It's actually a Saman product. They're a really good water-based company. And we're just gonna overfill that area. So we'll let that dry, level it off. We'll have to do some graining through this, but that's basically the only way to deal with these now that they're into the wood that way. So I've got a couple of them marks like that. Right here, we've got 3 in a row. Try to keep them just to the area, but you do have to get all of it out. Or else you'll have like a dark patch around the area and you don't want to have to still do some color work there. Okay, so I've sanded this up to 120 and I've just decided that I'm going to go ahead with the paste wood filler, grain filler. There's just too much discoloration in the grain, and some areas there isn't and then there is, so it's really uneven and not looking super great. Stuff like this is not going to get covered in by lacquer. It'll just kind of float on top. So I just spent the last 20 minutes stirring this up, 10 minutes stirring this up. It's a really heavy based wood filler, and it's basically the equivalent of putty, except for in a little bit more of a liquid form. And you just really need to make sure you get that all mixed up. But you can see how thick that is. So I'm basically just gonna be taking this squeegee type thing and dumping a bit of this wood filler on the table and squeegeeing it into that grain. And then of course we'll need to sand that all off again. So let's get to it. Okay, so we've got everything sanded down with 180, and I'm ready to try some color. Now, I do not like Minwax stain at all. I think it's pretty terrible stain for the money you pay for it. But I'm going to be using this Golden Oak Minwax stain because what I need here is a color that is barely doing anything. And that's what Minwax does. You pay for basically an entire bottle of paint thinner. So we're going to just try this color and look at it compared to a leaf. Okay, yeah, that's looking pretty good. So that's coloring the pastewood filler and everything. Getting it looking pretty good. The sanding looks like it's okay. No swirly marks. So let's go ahead and get this color on this whole side here. I don't usually use foam brushes, but I don't have any other brushes right now. I have to go get some. Kind of works out for the stain though, because I need to leave a lot on so it can soak in a bit. Let's see how it turned out. I presume I'll probably have to do some tinting, but let's see how we go. Looks pretty good. Definitely barely a color on this wood, which is good. Okay, so I ended up wiping over a really watered down black over the whole top, and I like that now. That looks really good with everything. So these little areas here that we're looking at, I'd like to get you nice and close. So we're going to deal with these guys right now. And I'm going to be using Mohawk's Blend All sticks for this. Kind of a perfect spot for these guys. So in a touch-up like this, we did use a lighter color putty, but with the colors that we went over top of the stain, we got a little bit of darkening happening here. So we're gonna come in with the background color first, and we're just gonna try to blend it into whatever's around it. So that we can try to get that spot disappearing. You mainly want to focus on getting that color only where your touch-up is, like that. And we'll do that on this one as well. And where you have grain that's dark coming through, don't worry about that. Basically, you know, that's doing the work for you there. So hopefully you can see these colors on the camera. Just going to try to get it blended into that lighter part of the grain. Right there. Okay, so that's lighter now, but it needs a little bit of red. So we're just going to come in and give it a little bit more warmth to blend in with that surrounding area, but not too much. And if you go too far with these, it's really easy just to take them off and redo the whole thing. Good stuff. So this dark green here, I'm going to pick a pretty dark color. kind of like a really dark burgundy. And then I'm just gonna follow whatever's going on in the wood already, just like that. There's a very faint line that comes through there. And there you go, disappeared. I mean, not on camera, but if you can see, we've got those lines coming through on that one and the lighter area shaded in. Same with that one, can barely see it, just shaded in. So when you look at the whole table, that's gonna blend into what's going on in the grain pattern. And with a little bit of tinting on top, they will disappear. So I'll do that with all the spots that are happening here with all those cigarette burns, and hopefully they'll all be blended right into that surface like nothing happened. Okay, so it's next morning. I sprayed 2 coats of the pre-catalyzed lacquer last night. Looking pretty good. Tables definitely need more, but I'm really happy with the level of grain filling that we've got. We've still got texture, but it's not those deep pits. The lacquer was able to kind of float over those things. And the touch-ups are looking really good. You really can't see them too much other than a distortion in the surface. So we'll work on that with cutting down in the sanding. So at this point now, I'm just gonna take some 320 sandpaper and give it a good sand down, get all those little dust nibs out and everything. And then I think I will give it a little bit of a tint, a little bit of a warm-up tint, and give it another couple coats of lacquer and see how that looks. So let's sand. Okay, so we got it all sanded down, and I'm gonna give it a very light dusting of the medium brown walnut, and then we'll follow it up with 2 coats of the lacquer. And there it is, all finished up, looking much better. Everything kind of evened out, nice and clean. Doesn't even smell anymore. Looks good. Now, this is not necessarily my style of furniture or my favorite color, but it is always a pleasure to put something back in working order and repair some serious damage satisfactorily. So it looks good. The repairs look good. Everything turned out really nice. And it is a wild oak table, like all oak tables are these days, a very wild grain. Anyways, thanks so much for joining me on this one. I hope it was helpful or that you enjoyed the process. And if you want to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee. The link is in the description below this video. And as always, thanks so much for being here and supporting this channel. Cheers.